This Daikin Rebel has got a leak right there on that coil, and what it looks like is at some point while I was getting worked on, something hit that coil just right and it created a leak, and it's just enough to where we're losing the charge after about 3-4 months worth of time, losing about 50%. So it's not much of a leak whenever the pressure's low, but as soon as that pressure ramps up, and the way that these Daikin Rebel RTUs function and how they control those inverter compressors and the condenser fans, they run pretty high head pressures a lot of the time. How well can we actually get that leak to seal? We're going to find out today. I got good hopes. Done it a handful of times on some chillers and stuff. Haven't done one of these Rebel coils yet, so we'll find out. It'll either go great or it's going to blow up in our face. One of the things that makes this leak really interesting is we were trying to pressure test at a much lower level and do a leak search with some trace gas that way, and we were doing it at about 200 psi or so consistently. We're looking, spent several hours trying to find this thing, and it was not showing up for us. We couldn't see it. Granted, you know, the oil spot is not extremely obvious there in the corner, but it's there. As we're going through this, we're really struggling to find it at that lower pressure. And it's such a small leak that I don't think it was actually showing up at that point. Our next step was, and you have to do this sometimes on these 410A systems or these high pressure systems like this, because they run at such a high pressure and you can't necessarily account for heat and contraction. So once these units generate all the discharge heat, you know, that expansion of the metals can also help create leaks that aren't normally there at a cold state. So the next step at that point became getting the pressure up to 450 psi. Once we achieved that point, the leak actually became sufficient enough to where we were able to pretty quickly trace it down from there and identify what the problem was. But just the word of caution is you can do a low pressure check, you know, the 100 psi, 200 psi, that's fine on these systems. But when you know you've got a leak and there's something going on, you really have to take it up to that higher level if you're going to verify that you've got exactly what you're looking for in terms of finding all of them or just finding it to begin with. To do this repair, we're using the Zelle Flux. We've got a number 2 tip. That'll give us some nice tight control, but still get enough heat on that coil. We'll get it as hot as we need to without too much trouble. And then we're going to use the AL822 aluminum brazing sticks. They also do have a flux coating on them as well. Just doing these coils like this, we want to make sure it's nice and clean. We'll take some scrubs and some sandpaper, clean up a lot of the residue, get that off of there. We'll get the flux on, we'll get everything nice and warm, and we'll get this aluminum to stick. Well, would you look at it? Just look at it. That's about as ugly as a turd as you'll ever see, but it holds. The Infocon D-Tech says it's good. We got 250 on it. We ran out of nitro, but holding the fact that it's holding 250, we got absolutely nothing on the high setting for this. We've got trace gas in the system. Real happy with it. I'm very confident. At this point, I do have to run to the next job. Tech on site's gonna get the pressure test finished. Gonna do a vacuum, but I am 99% confident that the leak is sealed and we are good to go. Hope you enjoyed it, guys. MTT.